Hi and welcome to another story, and today we have part 9 of Ned and the Chocolate Cheats by Mark Jarvis, continuing from chapter 17, Thriller in Manila. By the time we got our things together at the hotel and checked out of our room, Gizmo had sent us the details. The flight left in about 3 hours, so we decided we needed to jump straight into another taxi. I had a quick toilet stop first. We went back to the metro railway station and then to the airport. This jet-set lifestyle is going to be the death of me, declared Jeff, as we stood in yet another airport queue. I just can't cope with this pace. I'm still shaking from earlier on. It's night time, remember, and I don't think we're going to get much sleep. I replied deep in thought. We'll have to try and grab a few minutes sleep on the plane. The criminal gang knows that we are here. They must have seen us as we left the Ritz-Carlton building. True, agreed Jeff, as we took another couple of shuffling steps forward in the airport queue. But so what? We're going to another country now. The man behind the newspaper said Interpol would arrest them. But they haven't been arrested yet, I replied, shuffling forward again. What if they are still looking for us? What if they try to kidnap us again? Or worse? Worse than being buried under a few tons of concrete in a cellar in London? Or worse than being blown up in a Hong Kong taxi? Jeff exclaimed. How much worse can it get? I gave him a hard stare. My point is that it is a good idea, before we get through the check-in desk, security and show our passports, to be in disguise again. I'm thinking that now might be the right time to use our other passports, to become John and Ned Mondo, just as a precaution. Our friends must have had the same thoughts because Jeff's phone beeped, showing us he had a text message. It was from Gizmo. It said, "Hey dudes, big soz because I forgot to tell you that your tickets are booked in your undercover disguise names of Ned Mondo and John. You'll need to change to look like your passport photos. The dude behind the newspaper told me to do this. He was worried you might be being looked for. Have fun, dudes." "I think that you rather fancy the idea of becoming Ned Mondo," said Jeff. "I think a moustache suits you. You'll have to reapply the hair dye to your fur, though Ned Mondo is a different colour from you, remember?" "I know," I replied. "This queue is moving really slowly, so I'll have plenty of time to nip off to the toilets over there and rub myself all over with hair dye. I'll hold the bottle in my mouth, pour some out over the tiled floor, and then roll around in it like I do when we're out for our walk sometimes, getting a smell on me." "Oh, you dirty dog," laughed Jeff. "Yes, you do like to roll around in filthy things on our walks, and you do manage to get yourself completely covered. Look, here's the bottle then. I'll stick the moustache on you when you get back. I'll keep our place in the queue. You'll have to look out for me, though, because I'm not going to be able to recognise you if you're a different colour. As soon as I get back, you go off to the toilet too. You need to stick your moustache on, and it'll be easier if you look in the mirror." With that, I took the bottle of hair dye that Jeff handed to me in my mouth and went off to change the colour of my fur from white with tan patches to a yellowy golden retriever colour. When I came back to the queue, Jeff had moved a lot further up. He stuck my moustache onto me. "Your turn now," I said. "Wait a minute, though. I've just remembered. You're supposed to be clean-shaven, and you're not wearing your glasses on the passport photo." "Oh, no," Jeff exclaimed. "You're right. I totally forgot. I haven't got time to put some contact lenses in now. I'm sure other people who have glasses aren't wearing them in their passport photos. In fact, I'm sure you're supposed to take them off when you have your photo taken. It'll be okay. Let's just be confident." "You look great, though," he said, looking down at my newly dyed fur. "I think you should stay like that. You've done a good job this time." "Oh, thanks," I replied sarcastically as he jogged to the toilets. He was back soon, and it was our turn at the desk next. I felt worried. I could see Jeff was too. We would be in serious trouble if we were found out. What we were doing was illegal. I looked over at Jeff in his fake moustache. He had the same style of face furniture as I did. The moustaches were of the wide variety and stuck out from the side of our faces. We looked a bit like World War I fighter pilots. We looked ridiculous. It was all I could do to not run away. I thought, what a stupid idea. Whoever thought that this would... "Excuse me," the shiny black cat said on the check-in desk. She was assisted by a small spiky-haired man who looked very serious. "Excuse me," she said again, interrupting my train of thought. "Your passports are all in order. May I ask, did you pack your bags, sir?" "Yes. You can proceed to the departure lounge and watch the gate numbers. Your flight departs in 2 hours. Have a great day. Next, please." "Wow. We did it," I exclaimed in delight and relief. "Our disguises worked." Jeff was equally pleased and equally surprised. "I don't mind admitting that I felt a bit worried there, especially looking over at you and thinking how silly you looked," he grinned. When the gate notice board showed our gate number, we made our way on board the aeroplane. This aircraft was not as big as the one we were on last time and was arranged differently inside, with only one central aisle down the middle of the plane. We were sitting comfortably, with extra leg room for Jeff, extra curl-up room for me, and a drink each. I asked my person a question that had been worrying me the last few hours. "When we get to Bohol..." "Yeah?" "We have to fly to Manila first, and then catch another flight to the island of Bohol," he interrupted. "Yes, but when we get there," I continued, "and we have to find the Great Gabba, how are we going to know where to search, and how we will know what he or she looks like when we find them?" There was a silence for a few minutes whilst he thought about this, twiddling his new moustache. The flight attendant brought us some more drinks and, of course, some food, and then he answered, "I've been thinking about all that we know about the great Gabba. Everyone who has spoken about him has referred to him as a he, so we know that much. He is really famous too. Even people and animals as far away as England have heard all about him, so I'm sure that anyone we ask will be able to direct us to him. And finally, he sounds like a big and powerful figure. You never know, he might find us first. He sounds quite frightening, actually." "He does," I agreed. "I guess we'll just have to wait and see. And be brave." Manila Airport was a complete contrast to the calm and organised Hong Kong airport. There were queues of animals and people everywhere, and it was hard to find how we were supposed to get to our connecting flight to Bohol. We had just about given up when Jeff spun around quickly with a little gasp. I looked up to see a large brown and white beagle whack him on the back of the legs for a second time. "Hey, mister," he called. "I've had to check for travellers from Hong Kong against 2 sets of photographs, with and without your disguises. They suit you. I've been looking for you the last hour or so. The man in MI5 thought you might need a little help here. It's a bit busy. Follow me." The beagle was a jolly friendly local. Even so, we had to take care. "How do we know he's on our side?" I whispered to my person as we dutifully followed along through the crowds. "We don't," he said, "but at the moment we don't have much choice. We are lost anyway. Let's see what happens, but stay alert for any funny business." We kept on going, pushing through different groups who were queuing in big snaking lines as we crossed the sprawling airport. "This is where you guys want to be," announced our guide, sitting up on his hind legs and spreading his front legs out in welcome. "You're going to find the Great Gabba in Bohol, right?" he asked as we looked at him blankly with our large moustached faces. Oh, yes, of course," I replied. "But to tell you the truth, we're just following you and we don't really know who you are. Sorry, I hope I'm not offending you." The beagle sat down in the shiny airport floor and laughed. "Of course I take no offence." He laughed again. "In fact, it is I who should apologise for not introducing myself properly. It's just that it was so busy over there. I'm Armando, and I work for the British government here in Manila. If it helps you trust me more, I know that you're trying to solve the great chocolate mystery, and you successfully escaped a dangerous gang of criminals in London who were trying to bury you under tons of concrete. Well done, by the way." "Thanks," I said. "We've had a bit of a close shave in Hong Kong too. OK, well, when we get to Bohol, can you tell us how we might find this great Gabba, if he really exists, that is?" "Oh, he really exists," said Armando. At least his reputation really exists. There are a lot of animals worldwide who worship him. He has promised to lead them all to a better life, and to punish the bad humans who have mistreated animals. Gabba means divine retribution in the original language of the Philippines, before the Spanish took over in the 1520s. In a traditional proverb of the islands, Gabba is to do with bad karma. If someone does something bad, then something bad will happen to them. I guess you could say it's a kind of superstition or magic. "Magic!" I exclaimed, my ears pricking up. "The great Gabba exists, and he is magic. Well, now I am really worried, but very curious too." "Huwag kang magagala," said our guide. That means don't worry in Filipino. Gabba only takes retribution on creatures that have done bad things. You'll be fine," he laughed again. "Now, you'd better get moving, or you'll miss your plane. Next stop in Tagbilaran, the capital of Bohol. Good luck." Armando stood up and walked off in the direction of the crowds again, leaving us to walk off in the other direction, towards our next flight. The aeroplane to Bohol was even smaller than the one that had taken us to Manila, and there was not really any difference between our seats and anyone else's. The flight time was only an hour, and our fellow passengers were mainly tourists, by the look of them. There were dogs and cats of different sizes, and their people were mostly dressed in the colourful Hawaiian-style shirts, which are favoured by people going on holiday to hot countries. As the aeroplane banked around before landing at Tagbilaran Airport, I had a great view of the beautiful island. It was lush and green, like a jewel set in the turquoise blue of the tropical ocean. I became more excited about our visit, and hoped the dangers were left behind. Chapter 18. Chocolate Hills. "Dinky, Dinky, where have you been?" shouted Dinky's mum when she found him at last. "I've been worried sick. I heard some silly story about you being seen clinging onto the roof of a bus with your gang last night. I thought my Dinky wouldn't be seen doing a silly thing like that. He's not that silly, is he?" "No, Mum," replied Dinky. "That would be a very silly thing. No, I was just mucking about at the entrance to one of the caves in the Chocolate Hills, and we just decided to sleep out here today instead of coming all the way back. That's okay, isn't it? I mean, I'm a big Tassier now, and I should be taking care of myself, shouldn't I, Mum?" Dinky looked at his mum pleadingly with his huge eyes, his long fingers clasped together in front of him. This always melted his mother's heart. "Oh, Dinky, how can I be angry with you when you look at me like that? I was just worried, that's all." "I'm sorry, Mum," Dinky said. "I promise I will tell you where I'm going next time." "You must be careful in those caves in the Chocolate Hills too," she warned, biting the head off a passing butterfly. "Your father used to spend too much time up there, and look what happened to him." He was seen and taken by those tourists, and that was the last we saw of him." She turned her back and climbed off in search of more insects to eat. Dinky's gang had only managed to return with one phone that someone had dropped on the pavement. Never mind, thought Dinky. It was one more phone that the gang could use to track the movements of tourists. Dinky believed the tourists deserved lots of bad things to happen to them. After what had been done to his father, it was also one more phone that would be used by the gang to keep the secret safe. Dinky's father's secret, that he had passed on to Dinky for safekeeping. Dinky swore that he would give out retribution for what had happened. That's why he called himself the Great Gabber. People should be scared. Gabber was an old word, and Dinky felt he was part of that old tradition of the island. Beneath the chocolate hills were many caves. Deep in a particular cave was an amazing secret. Dinky and his gang were working hard to keep that secret safe, especially as there were more and more tourists coming to Bowlhole nowadays. He would need to be very vigilant. And that is where we will leave part 9 of Ned and the Chocolate Cheats by Mark Jarvis. I'll be back soon with part 10, very, very soon, of this fantastic story. And lots more coming your way as well. Lots of stories, lots of videos. So check them out, please. And subscribe or hit a like. That's always appreciated. Thanks for your support, guys. Thanks for listening. Bye-bye.